Okay, sir. Thank you.
This is from your mobile or from the desktop?
The PPT is from desktop, sir.
Okay, fine, fine. Please.
Okay, sir. Good evening to all. I am Sudha Srini from Assistant College of Engineering. I am studying final year. I am going to present my learning report on scheduling in project management. These are the topics that I am going to present in upcoming slides. Introduction, importance of scheduling, types of scheduling, tools for scheduling, benefits of scheduling, and the conclusion. Let's see what is meant by scheduling in project management. It is the process of listing the activities and it delivers the development in project and it provides milestones for project. It includes the planned start and finish date, duration, and resource assigned to each activity. Here are the first six processes of time management to be considered while building a schedule. Firstly, we have to plan the schedule management. Next, we have to define the project activities which is involved in the project. Next, we have to sequence the activities according to needs. Next, we have to estimate the resource required. Next, we have to estimate the durations to complete the project. And lastly, we will develop the project schedule. Here are some importance of scheduling. In that, I'll just explain the importance points. First, it assigns dates to project activities. Based on scheduling, the preliminary costs can be estimated. It provides a sequence of tasks, so project manager knows what activities need to be working on and what are the next activities need to be prepared for the project. It eliminates problems due to production bottlenecks. It improving safety performance by sequencing the activities to ensure maximum production of workers. It avoids delays in the completion of entire project, hence avoid creation of havoc for owners who are eager to start using the constructor facilities. Construction companies would be able to see whether the duration stipulated by the client is obtainable or not. It is useful for formulating tender or by estimates. It intends to match the resources of equipment, materials, and labors with project work, tasks over time. It used to monitor the work process. Let's see the types of scheduling. There are three main types of scheduling. First, master project schedule. It tends to be simplified lists of tasks within a timeline or a project calendar. Milestone schedule is also known as summary schedule. This type of schedule tracks major milestones and key deliverables, but not every task required to complete the project. A detailed project schedule. This is a very important project schedule method as it identifies and tracks every project activity. For a complex, large or lengthy project, it's important to have a detailed project schedule to help track everything. The most common form of project schedule is Gantt chart. It is a representative of a bar chart. By combining both milestone schedule and the detailed project schedule, Gantt chart can be created. These
You
are the
come to
tools for
you
schedule.
come to earlier slide. You come to earlier side. I want to tell something. Previous slide. Yeah, the three types of no, next one. Yeah, the three types of scheduling what she was speaking. One is master project schedule. Mostly these days, policy makers or the developers they are giving this particular activity. Maybe the highway project needs to be constructed 3 years or 4 years. A bridge needs to be constructed in 3 years. Like that, the overall the master project schedule. Example, if you take a metro project, they will tell phase one we will complete by 10 years, the phase two will complete by 12 years. Based on their earlier experience, they give the master project schedule. It includes everything up to operations and everything. There may not be much of details will be there. Major activities only they will take and they will make a schedule. This will be helpful for the government or the policy makers. The milestone schedule means there may be in project so many agencies will come. Maybe the civil after yours. If you take a industrial construction, once the foundation done, then the mechanical people will bring their equipments and they will do the erection work. Like this, lot of interdependent activities are happening in the project. Maybe after the structure work, the finishes may start. So we can't, we no need to wait until the project is over. Again, we have to take over like that. There will be intermediate milestones where one agency can give the work to the other agency, they can start, because all the work may not be done by single agency. So multiple agency, even a house construction, there are nearly 40 plus 40 to 50 agencies coming into, starting from excavation up to painting. The excavation can't, again, can't do the painting work. The painting people can't do the excavation work. Like that, a lot of activities will be there in each and every construction. So it has to be prepared in a detailed manner according to the trades. Lot of work the same agency may do, the company may do. Otherwise, they will outsource the work to the specialist people. Example, for borewell drilling, the company may not be having their own borewell drilling machine. They may go for hiring to get a borewell driller and get the drilling work to be done, and they will pay the payment. Like that, a lot of electrical work and the mechanical and then the plumbing, lot of special agencies, waterproofing. So many agencies are involved in a project for doing the work. So that needs a better coordination. For that, only milestones. Once the one milestone is achieved, the other agency can jump in. One more thing I want to say here, milestones, it is a lot of places they will give the, if you take a home loan also, so your entire life, you are taking a home loan, example, 60 lakhs of home loan you are taking, they will say, sir, once the foundation completed, I will disburse 10 lakhs of loan. Once your first floor slab is done, I will release another 5 lakhs. Once your second floor slab is done, I will release 5 lakhs. Like that, they will have their milestones. They not necessary na, to release all the 60 lakhs at a go. So they will release the money also according to the progress of work. For that, milestones are intermediate monitoring points, whether a significant progress is achieved or not. So this milestone schedule preparation also one should know. Other one is detailed project schedule. It is a detailed schedule, each activity, how it is interrelated with the other activity. There are four types of relationships are there. Anyone knows what are the four types of relationships in a scheduling? Anyone knows? If you know, you tell yes. Otherwise, you type in message. What are the four types of relationships? Start to start, finish to start, and finish to finish, and start to finish.
Start to
These
finish.
are the four types of relationships observed commonly, observed in the most of the places. Finish to start, one activity excavation is completed, other activity they will start from excavation, finishing to start. But not necessary. If the excavation is having so many buildings, you are doing excavation, you can do start to start plus you start to finish, like that. With other relationships also, with the lead time you can use it. Once you are coming to your planning schedule to over enrolled, so on that program we will teach you about the planning. Now the, I hope BOQ and estimation other things are happening, but you will be learning those things also. Yeah, Sujita, you can proceed to next slide.
Thank you, sir. Mm, these are the seven tools for scheduling. First one is the mathematical analysis. In that, there are two methods. One is critical path method, and other is the program evaluation and review technique. It is known as PERT chart. Mm, these two methods I will discuss in detail in upcoming slides. Let's we concentrate on the duration compression. What is mean by duration compression? It recently it helps to shortening of project's completion period if needed. It can adjust the set schedule by making changes without changing the scope in case the project is running late. There are there are two methods. One is fast tracking and another is crashing. Fast tracking performs one or more activities parallelly. It has high risk involved. It may result in rework and also increases the project cost, and it increases the quality risk. Whereas in crashing, It deals with involving more resources to finish project on time. It can also be used by adding time, paid overtime, but it should stay within the decided schedule. Lest we concentrate, so sorry, um, there is one point. In that case, it unfortunately leads to raising the cost of the project. Next is simulation. In this, expected duration of project is calculated by using a different set of tasks. The schedule is created in the basis of assumptions, so it can be used even if the scope is changed or the tasks are not clear enough. Next two is resource delivering heuristics. It means that cutting the delivering time or avoiding under or overutilization of resources by making adjustments with the schedule or resources. By dividing the tasks as per available resources so that no resource is under or overutilized. There is a demerit in this method, that is, it may increase the project's cost and time. Next is task list. It is the simplest project scheduling technique of all the techniques available. It is a simple and most popular of all methods. It is very useful for implementing small projects, but for the larger projects, it is not a feasible method at all. Next, I am going to explain about the Gantt chart. As earlier I said, it is a type of a bar chart and its purpose is as a visualization technique in the project management. It is used by project managers most of the time to get an idea about average time needed to finish a project. Then is the calendar. It shows a timeline for the entire project. Its major advantage is that it can be subject to change as it is shareable. It seems to be a greatest technique for tracking a project, but does have a certain limitations such that it cannot assign tasks to certain people and cannot see tasks dependencies. Now I'm going to explain in detail about the critical path method. The, the critical path method is a project modeling technique which gives longest duration path through a network diagram and determines the shortest time to complete the project. Once the critical path is determined, then we can obtain a clear picture of the project's actual schedule. Nowadays, we are automatically calculating the critical path by installing from project scheduling software. These are the very important definitions in critical path method. The earliest start date, latest start date, crash duration, float and slack. Let's see in detail. The earliest start date means it is simply the earliest date that a task can be started in a project. It cannot determine without knowing that any tasks are depend on one task or figuring out the other constraints that might impact the start of that particular task. For example, I am here inserted a page which this is the earliest start date, and similar to the earliest start date, there is a earliest finish date. That means earliest date that the task can be completed. If starting on the 0th day, then we will calculate that 3 days is taken to finish the task. Next is the latest start date. This is the very last minute in which that a task can be started before it threatens to upset the project schedule. Next is the crash duration. This discusses the shortest amount of time that a task can be scheduled. Then last is the float or slack. This term that describes how long a task can delay before it impacts the planned schedule and threatens the project's deadline. When the tasks are collected for critical path, then the task must have zero float. There are two types of float. One is free float and total float. What mean by total float? Total float is the amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying the project up to completion. Next is the free float. Free float is the amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying the early start of its successors. Next is the critical path analysis. We know that I already said that purpose of critical path is to find the least amount of time that needs to complete a task. Critical path analysis furthers the ability to make better estimates for scheduling, to map out every important task that must be done for a successful project. There are two important purposes. It gains insights when planning tasks and it helpful for complex projects. This is the critical. This is the example for critical path. This blue color rectangular box denotes the node where the tasks are denoted. This arrow mark indicates the logical links or durations. Next, let's see how to calculate the project
Critical path
critical
is the
path.
longest path in the project. It is the longest duration. Okay, it should cover all the activities and it is the longest duration of the project. That is the definition exactly. Okay.
Okay, sir. Mhm. The technique for figuring out the critical path in a project are below. First, we have to break down the project. Let's see with the example. Here, the construction of a house is the project where we divided this project into internal works, external works, and foundation. The internal and external and foundation are the tasks which is divided the which are divided, and in the internal work they are subdivided into electrical and plumbing. Likewise, to schedule a project, we have to first break out the project into a tasks. Next, we have to estimate the task duration. It seems like tricky part, but we have to know that first how long the each task will take. If we are not an experienced person, then we have to ask our seniors or the experienced person how to we need to estimate the task duration. Next, sorry. Next, determine the task dependencies. If any task dependencies are there, it must be noted. Task dependency is when one task cannot start until another one has been finished. It is the key element of a good task management. Next, add milestones. Milestones helps to keep an eye on track of progress, which makes sure that we are meeting the baseline schedule. After collecting this data, now we are able to calculate the longest path to plan tasks which will take to reach the end of the project. And also, all this determines the what tasks are critical and which can float. Here are some uses of a critical path method. It plays an important role in developing a schedule in the project management with congestion, but it waves to order the seeming chaotic complexity of any project. It gives more accurate and reliable data, so the result will be betterment in project timeline, schedule, plan, and so forth. It helps in the project as a measurement of schedule variance. It helps to identify and map task dependencies. It helps in finding the critical path is a useful tool that project managers use to make better time estimates. It lends itself to complex and large projects, but it can be a helpful tool no matter the size of the project. We generally know that time is very important factor in project management. As the time is always weighting heavy on a project, and a critical path allows to see which of the project tasks are not absolutely necessary to end with a quality deliverable. Next is the PERT analysis. PERT analysis is a statistical method that can be very useful when working on project as it analyzes and represents the project task. The purpose of a PERT chart is to find out how much time will be required to finish each task in the project. This leads to figuring out the minimum time needed to the complete whole project. Let's see why the PERT chart is useful. It simplifies the complex projects. It involves multiple departments and subject matters experts. It explores the hypothetical issues. There are some pitfalls of the PERT. It requires lots of information as input to generate an effective result or output. It is a labor intensive and it requires continuous reviews and updates to make sure that accurate or not. Steps to implementing a PERT chart. Use a PERT in planning phase of the project. Next, behind by identifying the project milestones and then break those down into individual tasks. Figure out the sequence of the tasks. Then make the PERT diagram. Do an estimate for each task and the time it will take to complete it. Calculate the critical path and identify any possible slack is there. Let's see how to calculate the PERT. PERT relies on weighted average of three numbers, which are the most pessimistic time, the most optimistic time, and the most likely estimates for the project length. Optimistic time is the least amount of time to accomplish an activity or a task. This is the scenario when everything is working and can be estimated the schedule. Pessimistic time is the maximum amount of time to accomplish a task or activity. This is a worst case scenario. Anything can go wrong thus. The most likely time is the best estimate of how long it will take to accomplish the task or activity, assuming there are no problems. It is based on when estimation working out perfectly. As rare as might occur, expected time. It is the best estimate of how long it will take to accomplish the task or activity, assuming there will be problems. Uh, this is the realistic duration occurs in the project management. From this diagram, for the four phases of projects, they find out the optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic time, and they find out the weighted average value by using the equation O plus 4m plus b whole divided by 6. If to determine the validity of the estimate, then p minus o whole divided by 6 is the formula is used. The results are larger means then the less confidence is found in estimated done. The result is a weighted average, which is an average from multiplying each element by a factor that reflects its importance. Um, let's see how to create a PERT chart. In this, each phase is displayed as a circle with numbers is called node. This will be the project milestones. The blue color denotes the start and end points of the project activity. The black ones are the normal activities and the red ones are the critical activities. This is the red color indicates these activities are going to be the critical. That means longest duration is going to happen here. Then the amount of time estimated is added to the chart next to the node. This is the estimated time is added here after the nodes. The estimated time could be weeks, days, or months. It's depend upon the project we taken. Then milestones are linked using the vectors or displayed as a solid arrows. If the arrow is dotted means the work must be done in sequence but doesn't require any sources for that. By completing the chart, we can find which activities are critical to delivering the project on time. This is the slide which I explained before how to create the PERT chart. This is the difference between the PERT and CME. Sorry. PERT is the PERT is a probability model with uncertainty in activity duration. The duration of each activity is computed from multiple time estimates with a view to take into account time uncertainty. Where the critical path method is a deterministic model with well-known activity times based upon the past experience. PERT is applied widely for planning and scheduling research projects, whereas the CPM is used for construction projects and business problems. PERT analysis does not usually consider costs, whereas CPM deals with cost of project schedules and minimization. This is the difference between the Gantt chart and the pie chart. The Gantt chart is the represent of the bar chart, whereas the pie chart is the flow chart representation. Earth is developed to simplify planning and scheduling larger and complex projects, whereas a Gantt chart is also a graphical representation for planning and scheduling a project, which breaks down into tasks that populate a timeline. PERT is used for larger projects, whereas Gantt chart is used for smaller projects. PERT has many interconnecting network of independent tasks, whereas in Gantt it is a dependent tasks are linked. Um, I'm going to explain what is I'm going to explain the basics of the MS projects because the MS project and the Primavera only are nowadays are using mostly. MS project is the project management software
MS
for the
project and Primavera only there. Most of the projects are using a MS project and Primavera. Large projects, Primavera they are using. Medium sized projects they are using MS project. For doing both the things, you should know about this activity, construction sequence, construction methodology. That's what Mr. Natarajan sir is teaching you. Once you know the construction methodology and the sequence of work, then only then any software you can use, either MSP you can use or Primavera you can use, or you can use the Excel also, or you can use your Gantt charts also. The basic thing is, one first you should know the scope of work, and then sequence of construction, and the construction before sequence of construction methodology you should know. All these things only we are training, so that you can prepare your schedules confidently in any software. If they give also, you can start preparing once you know the fundamentals. Here Natarajan sir is giving you the fundamentals about the construction methodology, the BOQ, the sequence of work, and all sir is teaching you. That will be helpful for you to create the schedule. Otherwise, only you know the software, you will not able to do any schedule. Software also is required. Before that, the fundamentals, the input, how you give the input, based on that only output will get generated. If you give wrong input, then the output also will be wrong. So, how to give a proper input, for that you need to learn the construction management technique. Yeah, you proceed.
MS Project is a project management software. It is designed to assist a project management in developing a plan, assigning resources to tasks, tracking progress, managing the budget, and analyzing the workloads. Here are the few steps how to create a construction schedule in the MS project. First, we have to create a new project. In that, we have to add the tasks. Then we have to organize the tasks which are added. Next, we set up the project calendars for the tasks. And lastly, we will save and publish the schedule to the workers. Let's see how to create a timeline in the MS project. First, we have to create a task list for the MS timeline. Next, we have to provide start and the finish dates for the timeline that been created. And lastly, we will add tasks to the timeline. There are some pros and cons of the MS project. The pros are it integrates with Microsoft Suite and it allows using templates that are ready to use. Cons are it has a steep learning curve, it has issues with complexity, and its focus is gentle. Primavera software is the enterprise project portfolio management software. It includes project management, scheduling, risk analysis, opportunity management, resource management, collaboration, and control capabilities, and integrates with other enterprise softwares. Here is the image of Primavera software. The scope of the Primavera in civil engineering is it leads to the field of planning engineers and become planning engineers or planners or schedulers or a controller engineers. Why Primavera is better than the MS project? Because Primavera software is data-based software, whereas the MS project is a file-based software. Primavera is more powerful software when compared to the MS project software, as it reduces the project risks. Primavera allows issue and risk recording, whereas MS project lacks the feature of project issues and risk tracking. Primavera allows multiple users to work on a single project and the specific features to be used, whereas multiple user access MS project doesn't allow multiple users to work on a single project. Here are some benefits of project scheduling in project management. It assists with tracking, reporting on, and communicating process. It ensures everyone is on the same page as far as tasks, dependencies, and deadlines. It helps highlight issues and concerns such as lack of resources. It helps identify task relationships. It can be used to monitor process and identify issues early. These are the 6 tips for creating a solid project schedule. First, we have to reference the past projects, and next we have to include the project milestones. Then we have to consider any non-work time is there. Next, we have to define the critical part on the project. It's a very important. We have to define the critical part. Next, we have to record the scheduling assumptions. Then lastly, we have to keep risk in mind. What are the risks are going to we have to face like that. If we have a better schedule, so there is no any lag or delay in project. I have to thank Mr. Ashok Kumar for giving this opportunity and guiding me for this topic. I learned a lot of things and basics related to this civil field. I thank my college and my department staff for encouraging me to do this presentation. I thank Natarajan KB sir and Suresh B sir for teaching the important concepts in the civil engineering. I hope that my presentation helps you understanding the basic concepts of scheduling with my best of my knowledge. With this, I conclude my learning report. I thank you.
Good, Sujita, good attempt. And a few points I would like to add. One is the project management, why we are doing. What are the three important things in a project? One is the scope, the cost, and the time. All the three have to be managed properly in a project. If the scope is increasing, your cost and time also will increase. If you are if there is a increase in cost, other two also there may be the reasons for that. So these are important questions where a lot of openings are available in the market. Daily, I am getting thousands of CVs in our website and in these things. The issue is main understanding the concept. Once you understand the concepts, the interviews will be easy. Attending so many interviews will not be helpful. On that, how you are winning and coming out with that makes sense. You have to sharpen your skills. These days, everyone is asking for experience. Where you will get an experience until unless you do something on your own. So the academic people are also working hard to give their internships, the training, and the proper how to get along with the means industry ready, the syllabus and all. And yours is autonomous college. They are took the step, and a lot of colleges they are coming forward to give an education on the industry training because the project they are not afford to take the people and keep them on the bench these days. Once the projects are bagged, after then they are hiring the engineer, project based engineers they are hiring. Even large companies they are giving contracts, 2 years contract, 1 year contract, or project based work like that they are giving due to the uncertainties, and they are paying well also. Recently also a company yesterday, day before yesterday, company has given me around 20 plus positions. I am not finding good people to support them. They're asking, sir, why can't you? Because we have a lot of alumni people. Why can't you get the placements? Good people who knows about the planning, who knows about the quantity surveying, who knows about the quality. That's the reason in the each and every course, maybe the basic course also, all the five subjects we are covering. One is the planning, the quantity surveying, the quality in construction, and the formwork and the finish work. These are the five important topics we are covering because in this you can choose your career. Most of the people are employed in these five particular entry level engineers are employed in this particular area only. You can become a quantity surveyor, or you can become a planning engineer, or you can become a quality control site engineer, or you can become a farm work or reinforcement or site execution. But unfortunately, people are not coming up to take this particular activity of grooming themselves to the industry requirements. They are attending so many interviews. After then, they are coming and they are telling, "Sir, past 1 year I attended interview." Arey boss, if you could have done this course for 6 weeks, you could have got a better chance. Why the people are coming to the smaller institute like CMTI and getting enough placements? We have placed nearly 750 plus candidates only by structured training program. What industry wants? That's it. We have to get you confident, start learning on the work. They will be teaching you. Initial the grooming is required to get into the job. What are the job opportunities available? Which domain is performing? Which domain is not performing? Where are the opportunities are coming up? Here, if you say now present at present situation, the infrastructure is doing well. There lot of requirements are because government is spending like anything because to give the employment for the people. They are building highways. They are building lot of metros and other government projects. Even the COVID time, first they have started April 20th, the government projects only. They asked, yes, we will start the highway construction. We will start the metro construction. Like that, the government is spending like anything to develop the nation because ours is having a very good population around 130 plus crores. So they have to give them proper infrastructure and all the people has to be engaged on the work. So they are creating an infrastructure. For creating the infrastructure, engineers are required. For what you need to know how to do the infrastructure works. What that for that all the planning, the quantity survey, the quality and other things. If you are not eyeing the infrastructure, I want to work only on the building works. No opportunity. There is no opportunity. Lot of builders they shut up their shops. They told no, sir, GST demonetization and other things happened. Where nobody is interested to invest on building homes. So it is a sector. It will be keep on happening. The changes will be keep on happening. Along the changes, we have to travel ourselves and we have to modify ourselves to the requirement of the industry. Then only you can survive. Otherwise, survival in this competitive world is very difficult. So take the internships and whatever the opportunities, the courses given as opportunity to groom yourself so that you will get a confidence on your and you can represent yourself to the companies. Yes, sir, I know about the infrastructure. I know about the planning. I know about quantity survey. If you know little bit also, they will be happy. If you say I don't know anything, means then you are blank. Sir, I am fresh. A lot of CVs I see. I am a fresher, sir. I don't know. Like that they are writing. Then how come they will receive? You have to tell them, sir, I know little bit about smart cities. I have done a small project on a mini project on small cities, or I have done a learning report on the scheduling. I have an idea about scheduling. I have done an internship on scheduling, and I know how about the schedule works. If I know green buildings, you can tell I know about green buildings. There are a lot of other activities also. A lot of people are taking interiors also as their domain. If you tell, sir, I know basics of interiors. I have attended so many classes by the experts and other people. I'm interested in interior. They will listen. They will see what extra you have. If you tell, I have 6 softwares, I know, but I don't know how to give the input, how to get the output, then the softwares will not be useful. You should have strong basics, strong the foundation. Then you can wherever you go, definitely you can shine. Now the building information modeling also is taking good speed. Lot of people, even girls, are taking the building information modeling because they love to work with the computers instead of going to the project site. So there are enough opportunity for you guys to take into the building information modeling also. You can explore after your internship and other courses. What should I do next? Don't waste your time after your engineering. Do everything during your engineering as a part time. Then once you are coming out, you will be having excellent offer with you, and your parents also will be happy. After your engineering, if you keep on searching, and your parents, your relatives, everyone will ask what you are doing, what you are doing. Yeah, can you tell? Sir, I am preparing. You have to tell, I am preparing for a government exams. Is the getting government job is easy? It's very difficult. Only 1% of the people are getting. If 100 people is attending, only 1% is getting. Rest 99, they have to work on the private only. For that, improve your skills and try, and you can win anything. With this, we will close this session. I want everyone to prepare your reports also on regular basis. It will only help you to crack. 1 year of experience, what you are having, once you complete, that will be helpful for you. If you have a break, definitely the other next year students will come, and they will ask why you have a break 1 year. You have to lie. Nothing else, sir. I was constructing house for my own. This is the reply I get from most of the people. I have some work. My parents were not well. That's the reason I took off from the work. Because they HR people clearly they know, they will tell you are lying. In their mind they will keep in the paper they will tell nobody hired these people, means then these are not sold people. So better once you are in engineering, you sharpen your all your final year, and the third year is a crucial year. You do enough hard work on doing the internship, mini project, major project, and learn the practical aspects of construction management, and be industry ready, and anybody will come and take you. Okay, plan your career properly. Thank you. You can leave the session. Sir is not going to come now.